Where you're at in the world. Hello, this is Joey J. Ping here, checking Lab Man, respectmyregion.com. We're here today on the 7th official episode of the New York Cannabis Podcast, powered by Trees. I've got Joe Simon here today, founder of Joe's Buds in Syracuse, New York, everybody.
What's up? What's up?
What's up, brother? Welcome, welcome. Dude, I didn't even notice. At first, it was the bright yellow shirt, which I love from just a vibe standpoint, but then you've got this goofy giraffe right above you looking at you. How
Yeah, you like this guy?
Oh, well, shout out the giraffe and the cameo here today for everybody. This is going to be a great episode. We're going to learn a little bit about Syracuse, New York. We're going to learn a little bit about New York cannabis, Joe's background, his work and what he does, what he's been up to, and then also too this wonderful dispensary, and of course all of the amazing New York brands that you guys carry. So, Joe, thank you again for joining us here today. Again, everybody, this episode is brought to you guys by Trees, the premier cannabis ERP software. If you are a retailer and you care about making more money, there is no better team than Trees to help give you actionable data, help you physically come up with campaigns, and build and grow the relationships that you have with your vendors. I stand on that. So the episode, though, is not about them, Joe. It's about Joe's Buds. Talk to me. How did Joe's Buds come about? I know it's named after you, but tell me. Let's let the people know. What was the name? Was it a smoke session? Was it just a good idea? How did you come up with Joe's Buds?
Well, look, I was opening this dispensary, and I'll get to that in a little bit, but I was opening the dispensary, had to come up with a name, came up with all sorts of things. Like I had one of them was like the runway, because I was thinking like, oh, the runway, you're about to take off and whatever. But anyway, Joe's Buds just really stuck in my head. It's easy. You kind of get what it is, but it also has a double meaning. So one of the big things that I wanted to have in the dispensary was I wanted people to feel comfortable, because as a consumer myself, I've been to dispensaries that I like, and I've been to some that you kind of feel like either are too like sterile or people are too on top of you. So we wanted to kind of have the vibe right, so that our hope is people come in, they feel comfortable, they can ask questions if they want, but they're also free to look around and take their time, and they're not like, people are not on top of them like vultures. So
big focus on experience here, I'm gathering already.
Experience. You're putting it better than I could. But the buds, meaning we want the people to come in, feel like our buds. And of course, we're selling buds. So that's why Joe's Buds.
I love that, man. For so many people, they can overcomplicate it. I did a post the other day. I love the SEO play. Don't get me wrong. Dispensary near me. I guess there's a couple of those in a couple different states. I'm all for if you guys want to do it like that. I know that there's a group in San Diego. I think they call themselves Cannabis 21 Plus, right? Just because they're thinking what people are going to search and how they want to come up locally. I'm all for the taco number near me, number 46. Sure, I'm all for the fun, creative ideas. But I also love it when it's named after, myself. I'm also a Joe, you know what I'm saying?
You can appreciate it, yeah.
I'm a little partial extra towards this one, you guys. I can get to tell people like, yo, man, Joe's Buds up there in Syracuse. Oh, yeah. I'm a part of that. No, I'm just kidding. I've said that to absolutely nobody.
You could be one of the buds.
I'm one of the I'm one of the buds of Joe's Buds. There's like there's a bud for every Joe in the world right up there in Syracuse, man. It's amazing. Now, I also too, Joe, I know nothing about Syracuse. So you guys got legal cannabis the same time as New York City, the same time as the rest of the state as New York. Did you guys suffer from the same kinds of problems with these smoke shops and corner stores and bodegas or whatever? Is that still an issue for you guys up that way?
It is, yeah. I mean, so in fact, we have a place that's kind of right across the street, and it's a glass shop, and they're selling. It's like, like everyone else, they're open about it. And the way that we think about it is, look, I mean, good for them. Like if they're, if they get busted, they get busted. We're not going to do anything about it. Obviously, we're just focusing on trying to make ourselves like stand out, as there's people that aren't going to go to those places. So I think no matter how many of them exist, I think there's still an abundance of opportunity for us, for people that would rather go into a legal dispensary. So it is, in a way, it's a problem. I think that the state has a lot of restrictions and we have to abide by them, and it sucks that they don't. But I just try to look at the positive and think, how can we make this the best experience for the people who are going to make sure that they go to a legal dispensary? Like, especially like older people or people that just want to make sure they know exactly where their stuff comes from, because it's so regulated. They don't want to risk that they're getting something that might be more potent or different than they're expecting. So
yeah, I feel like there's so many different types of customers, and New York, upstate New York, a different crowd than the city, correct? There's different cultures. There's different. Is it the same hustle and bustle and the same honk 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 and sirens? It's kind of like LA minus the helicopters that New York is to me.
I,
Um,
I wouldn't say we're the same as New York. I mean, obviously we're in New York, but not the city. It's different. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
it's a little
yeah.
bit more laid back. The hustle and
It's a
bustle.
big college town there too, right? Isn't Syracuse
Yeah,
a big college city?
yeah. Syracuse University is huge. I mean, it's a real big state or big school within the state. And so when college kids are in, it's like like everything. I
Mm,
mean, football is really huge. People like really pack the stadiums. It's a big sports centered type of place.
that's
We actually
dope.
have we even have a AAA baseball team. We got the Syracuse Mets. I went there
Oh
last night.
wow.
My dad, he's a big baseball fan, and so there's a lot to do it's a good sized city, but it's not like New York or LA or even Boston. It's kind of nice because it's like, it's manageable. It's not like the hustle and bustle you were talking about in New York City.
And for you, what makes you so passionate about cannabis that you would want to get into the dispensary business? Because obviously New York is coming after other states, right? And there was all these horror stories, and there's I think the news today is that Gold Flora here in California just went under 16 dispensaries, over $100 million plus a bunch of debt. It's not easy. Not to say that that's to scare anybody, but like
Right.
if you're going to scale big, it takes money to do that, right? So for you, what was your thoughts getting into the weed business? What were you doing before? What was that? How did this all come about in that realm for you, Joe?
Well, for me, I'd been in the weed business illegally when I was younger. So I was introduced to weed when I was a young teenager, probably about 14, 15 years old. And I remember at the time, like one, I liked it and it was cool. It was, felt good, but I was like, fuck, this is expensive. Even like a dime bag. Like I didn't have money, before I
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and so I was like, all right, even when I got a job and I was packing groceries in the bags at the supermarket, I was still like, I don't want to spend my money. So I started doing what any entrepreneur would do is I'd buy an eighth and then I'd sell a couple 20s and smoke for free, or I'd buy a quarter and I built up from like probably an eighth to a quarter to like when I was still in high school, I was selling, ounces to other people who were then selling little bits, and I was buying a couple pounds at a time. Um, maybe a few pounds at my height. And I got arrested, not for selling weed, but stupidly drunk driving. Don't fucking drive drunk. I
Don't
flipped.
drive drunk, folks.
Don't drive drunk. I flipped my car when I was 19, and I happened to have a little bit of weed and a little bit of cocaine with me, stupidly. And the police ended up finding it. I got arrested. Went to court. Had a very bad public defender who I spent some days in jail, but I thought I was going to go to like prison for a little while. My parents ended up putting together money. I got a lawyer, and I decided that I wanted to go to law school, even though I ended up dropping out of high school. I was a high school dropout at 19. I worked at like Applebee's. I was in a rock band thinking I was going to try to make it big. Didn't work. So I decided this is crazy. Nobody should go to jail for marijuana. Nobody should go to jail for nonviolent drug offenses. So then that took me to go all the way through law school and become a
Yeah.
criminal defense lawyer. And then when this opportunity came back in my home state of New York, I thought, this is great. This is what I want to be doing. The opportunity just presented itself, and I thought if I could get in at the ground level, hopefully I can make a go of it and we can succeed. Even though, like you said, there's a lot of pitfalls and people don't always succeed in the industry. So
A
that's
lot
kind
of
of
people just try to go so big, or they try to do it so aggressively, and like these markets were so always so volatile. Were you a part of your guys' medical side in the retail level as well, or is this just the new? I don't know what it's called in terms of your guys' like in Cali Prop 64 and Washington I-502. I don't know what your New York stuff is, but for
yeah.
adult use New York, were you there before it in the retail, or is this just a new thing?
No, just a new thing. So we opened up last March. So we're not even a year into it, but I'm sorry, last May. So we're about 10 months into it. But no,
Mm-hmm.
we just went in as soon as we were able to do the recreational adult use. That's what
I
we
see.
started doing. I think the medical stuff is a little bit more complicated, and the industry is already complicated enough. There's already enough like hoops to jump through that I felt like that would have just added another level of headache.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Now, for like the way that it's set up there is there's a pretty sizable distance between the city and brands and people that are operating down there
Yep.
and upstate New York. Approximately how far is Syracuse from where the majority of these businesses are that are making these products down there?
Oh, well, the interesting thing is that probably like other states, you have to buy from within the state. So everything that
Mm-hmm.
we buy is grown from within New York, which is cool.
Everything's pretty much grown up there, but is it all manufactured up there too?
Not always. It's always funny to see. Like I always like to look at the packaging and meet the vendors and kind of figure out where stuff is, because some of the places are places that I grew up around or that I
Well, you
am.
never heard of. A lot of people have never heard of some of these places in New York. I've also come to realize.
New York is huge. I mean, it's such a.
Yeah.
I mean, not like California, but it's
No,
pretty big.
it's similarly though. Like I keep saying that I've been to Penn Yan by the Finger Lakes, and people that live up in upstate New York are like, "What are you talking about?"
I don't know Penn. It's but like to see little places like I don't know, like Delhi, New York, or Binghamton, or like um, Cherry Valley, or like places that are just Binghamton's not a good example, but the other ones, they're kind of small towns that I've seen vendors and things that are packaged there and
They're
grown.
getting back on the map, man. They're getting put back on the map a little bit.
It's pretty cool. So where it's hard to answer your question because we get stuff from all over. I would
Mm-hmm,
say
mm-hmm.
more upstate, but upstate to a lot of people just means like a little above New York City and above.
Right, right, right.
Like,
I know that that's not the case though. It's like actually like a whole sizable chunk up there.
whole side. We're in central New York, so we kind of are in the heart of New York. So like we're
Yeah.
getting it from all directions. I mean, as far out as
It's
Buffalo
a
as well.
hub for you guys. You guys are definitely a hub there for that state and arguably that region.
Yeah,
Should interstate commerce and all that become a thing? Obviously, New York will have a large suck of that, but Syracuse there will be a major hub, a secondary hub for the other areas above New York.
yeah, I think so. We're in a great location, and it's like right off the thruway. It's very easy to get to. You go to Albany in a couple hours. On the one hand, you can go to Buffalo on the other side. So we're pretty lucky where we are.
So Joe's Buds, how many dispensaries do you guys got around you? Are you guys packed to the brim there in Syracuse, or what's it like for you guys specifically competition?
Yeah, I think in the area now, so Syracuse has about 150,000 people population-wise, so it's a decent-sized city. But I'd say we probably have around 6 or 7 dispensaries already,
Wow.
and which is kind of a lot considering that there was only one. Like 2 years ago, there was one. Then we were maybe the second or third, and then it's really expanded quite a bit since then. So
6 to 7 for 150. I was trying to pull up my calculator to figure out how many that is because like some of these states, there's like a dispensary for every 6,000, 10,000, 40,000.
yeah.
I think here it's a pretty sizable number. There's just not enough for how many people there are here in the state. Um, do you are they right across the street from you guys? Are you guys there on like a green mile? Is that how they were like kind of sectioned off, or what is that like for you?
We're actually pretty lucky. We don't have any other than that one that's the illegal dispensary. But anything like actually legit, we're at least like a couple miles away from. So like the
Mm-hmm.
downtown area has a couple. We're kind of on the southern part, and that's not to say it won't happen. But for now, we've been pretty lucky where we are, and we're also on one side is Camillus, which is a smaller suburb which doesn't allow for dispensaries. So hopefully that helps us to people coming from that direction. We're the closest ones there, but their only restriction is 1,000 feet between dispensaries, so it's not very big. Like that's supposed to help to protect the dispensaries. I don't think 1,000 feet's very much. So
No, but they also didn't. I think probably that number sounds like it was inspired by that 1,000 feet or whatever it is from like schools and other kid zones and churches or whatever it is. That's usually
yeah,
the case with that random number, right?
yeah, that's true. Yeah, and a lot
Uh,
of laws too. Like you can't. Yeah, yeah.
are deliveries happening out there? Is that an area? Does New York have delivery?
We do, yeah, New York does. We haven't started it yet at Joe's Buds. I mean, we wanted to really just get everything going as well as it could, and we've been building. Every month has been like a little bit better. We've got a pretty solid customer base, but yeah, we just felt like we will do that eventually, but we want to make sure that we're not ignoring one thing and trying to go to.
Going back to that experience you were talking about at the beginning and how intentional you want to be there. I mean, you've got to execute something there a bunch of times and practice at that before you can make. If your model wasn't the other thing, then you wouldn't be great at physical retail yet necessarily, right?
Exactly. So I think that probably our hope is like we're going to come up on a year in May, and I think sometime in this next year we're going to open up the deliveries.
How exciting, man! So okay, so um, Joe's Buds. What are some of your? I mean, everybody always hates when I ask this question, but the people want to know what brands are good, man. The people want to know what brands they can trust or what some of your favorites are. Like, it's not to show bias. It's like we want to know who Joe Simon's the founder. Like, bro, what are you like? If I'm gonna invite you over, what are you bringing? You know what I mean? Like, what are you grabbing from the store before you come? Like, what are those goodies? right?
I know what you mean. I don't want to turn off any of our partners that we're working with and
I've
buying.
never heard, for the rec, for everybody that ever watches this, I've never had a brand ever tell me that they had a problem with hearing good things about like retailers promoting brands that they like. You know, I've never heard that yet. But
No, I
anyway,
like that you say that. And I think that one of the good things about this is even though there is competition and there's other dispensaries and a lot of people vying for customers, I do think this is kind of a really collaborative industry, at least so far in New York,
yeah,
where we're kind of all rooting for each other. Like I think there's room for us all to succeed. So no, just to follow up on that. But yeah, let me tell you, there some of the brands that I personally am liking now, and this changes, right? But for right now, I really like Heirloom is a brand.
hmm
They're local. They're actually they do all their stuff very close by. They used to be they do apple picking and stuff like that. They grow a lot. They're farm. They have events, but they are very good with. I like the pre rolls. They knock you on your ass. They come in like multi packs, which I'm a big fan of. Not everybody likes them because they don't have like just pure weed flavor. They're like key lime or lychee dream or cereal, whatever. So some people don't like them. I think it knocks you on your ass.
there's a product out there for every kind of customer. Those they also got other great items for people too.
Totally. And they got a lot of cool stuff. I mean, they do other stuff like vapes and they do drinks, which I like.
Oh,
I
those
think
drinks are so good, and the sleep gummy that they have too is fire.
yeah, exactly. I like the drinks, but I think my favorite is pre-roll. I think flower is the best. Pre-rolls are just the easiest. You can do them anywhere. And so, yeah, Heirloom Puff is another one that I really like, really
Mm.
strong infused pre-rolls. I mean, I'm kind of spoiled because now that I've gotten onto the infused pre-rolls, you know, yeah, we just got so many options that
It's hard, and New York has a ton of pre-roll options. There's a bunch of material and a bunch of pretty solid extracts there. Great opportunity to take a couple of ingredients and mix them together to do something more potent.
exactly. Yeah, so those are a couple brands, and then House of Sachi also has really good flour that I like. So I guess if I had to just name a couple off the top of my head, those are some that I've enjoyed recently.
Do do you guys have events going on? You guys got any big plans for 420 coming up? I know that's 19 days away.
19 days away, and 420 is obviously the biggest day in marijuana. It falls on Easter, so what we're trying to do is to hype up the weekend, before, like the Friday, the Saturday, and then we are going to be open on Sunday. But we're out of trying to balance, respecting the holiday for the people that it's important for. We're going to open at noon instead of 10 as we usually do, just to let people, not force our employees to come in. But yeah, I think everybody's excited about it. We got some new shirts and some hats are coming in. We got some good deals that are coming up.
Hell yeah.
um, yeah, it should be really fun. It's our first time being open on 420, so we're trying to figure out kind of
Gotta
everything.
go big with the doorbusters.
Got
And
it.
today's
Exactly.
Taco Tuesday, so a taco truck. If this one will land on a Sunday, right? Easter
Sunday,
Sunday.
yeah.
Easter
Yep.
Sunday. So maybe you think about like some kind of breakfast style catering there in that brunch window. To build, if you get people waiting in line like normal, it's not a bad idea. Uh, man, wow, this is such a unique opportunity to create so much community there over a weekend as it leads into the holiday. Man, how cool is that? It's going to be huge. Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Going to be a lot of weed being purchased and smoked. That's for sure.
I think so. And people get excited. I always get excited about it, getting ready and making
Hmm.
plans for just, going on some adventure. That's one thing I always like to do on 420, get together with some friends, find something fun to do, obviously get stoned, and then
I used to like to visit all kinds of like the medical dispensaries would always have the craziest deals because they could just give out weed or whatever it was. But
yeah,
like obviously with like rec now and adult use, like the you tend to get really good deals. So I would imagine that's going to happen. The penny pre rolls and the BOGOs or whatever big discounts. You always got to get those in there.
yep,
Um,
that's giving away some free gear, stuff like that too.
yes, yes, get that merch out there for the people, man. Let them support and rock it around their community.
Exactly.
Um, Okay, so I want to just take it a slight, not different direction altogether, but what would you say have been some of the biggest like challenges and the biggest wins? Like what you doing this dispensary, you're almost at a year, you're a month away from a year, it's your 11 month. You get the chance to look back, and what were some of those big challenges, and then what were some of those biggest wins that you and your team had? Like, what does that
Yeah.
look like for you guys?
Well, I guess some of the challenges are just the unexpected, like the expenses. I mean, I guess if I had to name one thing, the expenses are a lot bigger. So like everybody thinks you're going to get into weed, like open a dispensary, you're going to become a millionaire. It's going to be like the super easy money. It's not like super easy, and there's a lot of expenses and overhead and things like that you don't necessarily think of, even though you're planning for it and getting advice from professionals. So I think that was, just there's a lot of compliance stuff, a lot of things we have to keep track of in order to make sure we're not doing
More
anything wrong.
capital and more compliance than expected.
I think those are the two big ones, honestly. Yeah. So those are the maybe frustrations, if there are any. But I think in terms of the wins or the positives we've got out of this, I mean, I think we are hitting what we're hoping to hit, and that is like sort of building community, building regular customers that like to come in, and more than just us selling weed. And obviously it's a business and it has to make sense to stay open and to run. But I think we have people that like to come in. I think the people that work at Joe's Buds like to come in. I think they're enthusiastic. They learn. I love seeing the bud tenders interacting with the customers, and having somebody that's maybe not super familiar with ingesting marijuana in a different way, or maybe they're kind of newer, or maybe they used to smoke and now they're like 60 years old and they smoke a little as a teenager. They want to come in with some sort of maybe an ailment. And I love just being able to, they share the knowledge with the customers, and the people don't feel embarrassed to come in and ask questions and stuff like that. So I think just seeing my dream sort of come to fruition has been amazing.
That does sound like a big win, especially for you, and how much it sounds like you enjoy doing these kinds of things. Now, for you guys, right? I know technology is a big part of the cannabis retail experience. It may not be it's not like building planes or building vehicles and putting together electricity and all this craziness, but it does require online orders and websites and some form of marketing. It does require some form of point of sale. What is you don't have to tell me what your tech stack is, but what has it been like setting those things up, and what kinds of things have you been looking for in those partnerships that have helped make your experience over the last year a little bit more seamless? Because that's what they always said they want to do, right?
Yeah.
Take up your band, lessen the bandwidth that you're having to carry, and make a seamless experience and grow your money. Has that been happening? Have you been good with what's been happening, or what has that been like for you, and what do you look for?
It's okay. It's generally good, but it's not as seamless as maybe it could be. And part of it is regulation. So, I mean, for example, obviously we can take cash, and we do, but a lot of people want to pay with a card. So for the first like 6 months, we were fine. Our POS system and the debit card reader, same company, everything was pretty smooth, but it would go down sometimes. And then eventually they stopped servicing it altogether. So then we had to
Wow,
change to a new debit card system. It's okay, but it's not as seamless. There's a
common
few.
pain point here. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So that's one thing that's a little bit harder. I think in terms of to not taking credit cards, I would love to be able to accept credit cards, but the banks just aren't doing it until it's federally legal. So that'd be nice if we could do that. But yeah, I mean, the technology generally is pretty good. We're able to place orders. We're able to we have to do it ourselves, but once we input it into the POS, it's easy to kind of get a gauge on what are we low on, what's selling, what are the expiration dates that are coming close, so that we make sure that we're always selling our customers fresh products and not letting things expire and stuff like that.
Do you see your customers utilizing Google Weed Maps, Leafly, any one of those things more out there in the Syracuse market? What are you guys seeing from where like the customer funnel standpoint?
Well, not as much. I think that Leafly and weed maps are probably not as prevalent in New York State yet. I know that in other places, like I've visited California, I know that they're huge. Like you
Big
have to
Weed
be.
Map state, Seattle, big Leafly area.
Yeah. So I think here,
Elsewhere, that's why I asked, because it's always interested in hearing what it is.
yeah, I mean, we're on, but we're definitely on weed maps. We might be on Leafly. I can't even remember. But to be honest with you, we're not seeing a lot of customers coming through that way, but I think that may grow. And I know they're really trying, both of them are vying to get some good space in the New York State region. So
Right. They better start getting some traffic in the region. They better be watching these podcasts too, Joe. Some good
That's
feedback,
right.
right? Some good feedback right there. Come on, Weed Maps. Come on, Leafly. Let's get it, man. Y'all
That's
better
right.
be
Step
doing
up
some
your
content
game a
out there to
little.
get some more traffic because, ultimately we want those marketplaces to be able to drive traffic to people, right? We want these retailers, you guys, Joe's Buds, and other ones in your area. You guys want to be able to start. There's just got to be more. More customers being able to come in and with some support, right? And that's why
I,
even this, we're doing this podcast to try to raise awareness because there might be people searching for dispensaries there in Syracuse that don't even know that there's a true local craft boutique, customer centric style, kind of experience. Maybe they don't even know it's weird because they're on the other side, not by you guys, and they
Right.
just
We
didn't
still get
move
that.
forward.
We still get people that come in now, even though after 10 months, and they're like, oh, wow, I never knew you guys were here until like my friend told us about you or until, you know,
It's so
so
hard to break people's routines, Joe.
yeah, it
That's
really
what
is.
it is. That's
Well,
what it is.
and Joey, to your point earlier, you asked a question about the technology. One thing that's also kind of a challenge that we're figuring out is how do we run Instagram? How do we run TikTok? How do
Mm.
we do all that stuff? I'm a big fan. Like I like TikTok. That's kind of my thing. We have a bud tender who's better with Instagram, but Instagram went down. Like we had so many violations that they actually took us down and we had to restart from scratch. TikTok, we kind of popped off a little. Like we've had a couple hits with like hundreds of thousands of views on it that have gone off, but then those videos were then taken down. So we're kind of, it's tough to be in the weed business and then be on social media to try to get the word out. So a lot of it's either word of mouth, and we try to, hope that people spread the word. And
I always preach a couple things about social media. One, you look at what we run on social media, and we do a lot of content in cannabis as well. It's not always promoting products like the way a grocery store would, or the way a corner store would, or a dispensary, where it's product X available at price Y. This date it's promoted with a discount. Like it's not always that way, but the way that it's perceived on these platforms is that way, right? Is that it's cannabis is this, cannabis is that. That's what it is. So my
yeah,
mind recommend YouTube. YouTube is owned by Google, and
yeah,
put more time into those reviews and put more time into helping your dispensary show up more in the right places and taking that content that you want and making sure that every single review that you have gets an extra response to it. You don't have to respond to the reviewers just one time. You can pop back in there and let them know, hey, there's you got 156 of them, might as well comment 156 times with that promotion, because those are proven customers right there. So I always look at it like, if you're going to spend time and energy in certain places, Joe, and you're running into these challenges, you might as well spend the same time speaking directly with the people that already support you and knowing that they're going to come back because they left a review for you, and other people can see that. And the Weed Maps, Leafly, they do have reviewers on there, and there are communication tools on these platforms, again, where people already are at. um, when
that's
it comes
awesome.
to putting time and energy into stuff, it just sucks when it gets deleted. It's the worst feeling in the world to have all of your history gone. We did about 1 billion views on our last Instagram, and I broke my rule, and it was gone so quickly. And that's happened a few different times when I think I got it, and then I break my rule, and then they're just toast, and all that traffic and rewards and wins, they just disappear. And so I have to suggest putting some of that energy into these other areas and campaigns, as that might alleviate some of these problems. Now, for
Yeah.
you guys, do you are you guys able to partner with local farms and product makers to create your own stuff, like here in California? Are you guys able to have a Joe's Buds, B grade deal, like a deal line for students or something?
Oh, I don't know if that. I'm not sure if I'm thinking the same thing you
Like
were.
a
I think
white label? Are you guys able to white label from farms and put it under your own dispensary line?
kind of like
Kind of like
some of them are
Kirkland and
like,
Costco?
yeah, kind of not completely. I think we can like work with them, so it's like a combined. I don't think it'd be a complete white label, but
Mm.
yeah, some of them are yeah, they're offering that service. So I've been thinking about it. I haven't committed to anything, but I think if I do it, it would definitely be a pre-roll because that's what I like. But it would have to be something that's just a banger because it's got to be good if it's going to have Joe's
Yeah,
Buds.
because it's got to be you're gonna want to have to grab that and be your daily item, right? You're gonna need,
Oh
or your
yeah,
or your try your for me, I'm smoking 3 to 5 joints a day depending on the size, so it's like you're gonna need to have something, the daily driver, if you would, right?
right, right.
I
Something
love.
I'm like, I want to hype this up to my friends. Like this is good stuff.
Hey man, the Joe's daily joint has the daily. I think that could be a thing. Here we go. Are you? What is your perspective on pricing in the New York market right now? Is cannabis overpriced there? Is the quality in the price? Is it matched? Is the indoor and like the high end indoor? Are these things aligning in your eyes? If you've been into multiple markets, what are your thoughts here?
Well, it depends on it's always relative. I think that it's okay. Like here's the first thought. When I
I
was
think
selling,
the heirloom products are all fairly priced because they don't have anything in my eyes that would be expensive. Like there's nothing on their lineup that is expensive in theory.
I think that they're
The
pretty reasonable.
tinctures, technically.
Right. No, I think they're all reasonable. But the funny thing is, just before I get into that, in high school when I was selling weed, I remember like you'd get like really good stuff and it'd be like sometimes 45, 50 an eighth. Like this is like the early 2000s. Weed is the only thing that has actually gone down in price. You get everything else is inflation. Somehow weed, you can buy ounces. They used to be like $300 and now we're selling
Yeah,
out for like
one
150, 180.
100 to 150.
100 sometimes. We've had ounces for $100, like depending on the quality. Some are up to, two something, but still less money than they were 20 years ago. And that to me is just crazy. Crazy good, but crazy.
It's a buyer's market at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's hard to as a farmer manufacturing these gummies, labor, the vape cost. Now there's tariffs on the hardware. All those
Hmm.
things are going to get more expensive on the people making the products, and then but
Right.
there's always going to be more of that available, and so it's going to be a constant price balance, I would imagine there, and you're always going to have an excess of material available to you guys. The early days are not the same as what they are now.
No, and the prices I think are pretty reasonable comparatively, like from historically, but they're going down too. We've already noticed we've been able to reduce prices on a lot of products because the vendors have been doing it. I think that the more vendors there are, there's going to be some price reductions over time. And I don't know if it'll get as low as California. I mean, when I went to California, there was ounces you get for like $55. I don't know if we're going to get quite that low, but if we
That's
do, great.
Oregon's market. I don't really see. I don't think I see ounces for that. I definitely still see the. I pretty much see 79.99 to like 109.99 for like the low end stuff, and then you can get like some. I would say like the greenhouse to the mixed light for somewhere between that number and about a buck 50, maybe 200 if it's quality, but they're not really doing that. Like
Yeah.
sells in eight, that sells in eights, and the half ounces. And then you sometimes will get like indoor smalls at about a buck 50 to 200, and then basically all high end indoor. I mean, and not even stores don't even carry high end indoor ounces because that shit just sits and goes bad because it's a $300-$400 product, right? It
Yeah,
just
there's
doesn't.
not as many people that want to. I mean, there are people that want to pay that premium and get that product, but I think for the most part, myself included, I would probably go for something that's more reasonably priced. And it's all good. You're not getting shit weed anymore. I mean, you're not
No,
getting
not
that
really.
crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Even the low ends, the lowest end is still like pretty good weed.
That low end over here sometimes is scary looking.
Is
What's one
it?
mistake you learned from early on here these last few months, or I'm sorry, the beginning of this journey here this last year?
Yeah.
What's some mistakes that you made early on that you learned from, and that now you guys are operating kind of more seamlessly through?
Um,
Is it
I
the
don't know.
is it the human element? Was it maybe it's the is it the team? Maybe was it the tech stack problems? Was it buying? Did you ever have buying issues and vendor issues? Consistency there, maybe.
I guess buying and just figuring out like what we need, because I think earlier on we didn't know exactly what the market was. We could only guess like what are people going to want to get. So we ended up buying stuff that wouldn't move, or buying too little of things that then ran out. So I think
Mm.
that was a big thing to try to figure out. And now that we've got sort of a tempo, we can figure out like, all right, we want to keep these things in stock. Maybe we don't have to keep a whole line of everything. Like some of these places, you could get like 8, 9, 10 different flower variations, and maybe only 3 of them sell really well. So maybe we're focusing on those 3 and we're not stocking up everything in the back so that we have to get rid of it when it expires. So
Inventory management.
inventory management, I think it's a
Yeah.
bit, and it's still a learning process because we still get people all the time that come out with new things. They're coming out to the store wanting to put us on the shelf, wanting to put them on our shelves. And so, yeah, trying to figure out like, okay, should we try this? Should we not try this? And, I want to be open. I always want to be open to the next thing and support the businesses, but we can't possibly buy everything. We started off, I think we had like 300 SKUs. Now we have like fucking 700 something SKUs, and that's a crazy amount of products to
Yeah,
have.
what are you? Yeah, that seems. And I remember at one point when I was up in Washington in the beginning days, I think we hit something like 1,600, 1,800.
It's
It's not,
insane.
and I was just there this last for the last like 5 days, Wednesday through the morning of Sunday, and just walk through 12 dispensaries and just see how many different vapes they have, and in some cases the same flavors across different brands.
Yeah.
It just. I mean, I can understand a little bit of that because I can go to Target right now, Walmart, Big Lots, probably CVS, Walgreens, all those kinds of places, big box retailers, and I can buy cola a few different ways, and I can buy water a few different ways, and chips, and but could you okay random funny connection, but like there are 57 tortillas at the grocery store. I guess there's like a couple of tortilla brands and different types, but do I need 13 of the same flavor of vape? Like, what's going on here? It's
Yeah.
just
I almost think like it's almost too much when you have too many options. I think customers sometimes almost get like paralyzed with
yeah,
too
and
many.
I feel like I buy less when that happens.
Right. I think it's better to have like, a few great options for this type or a few great options for that type. Although flower is tough because there's so many
And it
variations
does,
of
and it
flower.
drives out fast. It does.
Yeah,
It goes
exactly.
bad quicker than the rest. Well, folks, I want to take a brief moment just to shout out our sponsor. We've got about 5 to 10 minutes left. A big shout out to our sponsor, Trees. Make sure you guys reach out if you guys have any questions, any retailers out there. Again, you guys want to grow your revenue, you guys want to make more money. Trees and their white glove service will gladly help you guys make more strategic plans based on actionable data, leveraging your e-commerce, your point of sale, the things that your bud tenders type in. They'll make recommendations. All of that can come in together to play a really nice to help expedite more revenue your guys' way. Joe, back to you though. Collabs, any collab products, any collab events coming up? 420, big thing.
So
What do you guys? What's the lowdown there for any collabs or events coming up?
yeah, so actually one of our bud tenders is working on a collab with the company Dank, and we're thinking it's going to be like a paint and puff type of thing. So that's probably going
Cool.
to come up in May, and yeah, we got a lot of pop ups, and we got vendors coming over. We've got events where we got food and vendors, and
Are you a music guy, a movie guy, a foodie, a bevy?
I,
What's your thing?
I probably out of those music. I really like
Okay.
music. Like I said, I was in a rock band when I was in high school.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
I wanted to do for a living, and I realized that that's maybe not super likely. So
If Joe's Buds was gonna do a 3 day music festival,
yeah.
rock, who would your headliners be for a Thursday, Friday, Saturday show?
Oh, that's a tough one. Well, probably like Foo Fighters, probably uh, maybe like Jimmy Eat World, maybe geez, who else? I've listened to so much music lately that I can't even think of rock bands. But I don't know. I went to Coachella last year. I saw Sublime. I
Ooh, there we go.
I don't think they're really rock, but I like them a lot.
Now that's an amazing. I mean, either way, that'd be an amazing lineup for 3 days.
I'd have Snoop Dogg come. I don't know. I'd have I don't know. But yeah, that would
Tell
be
me the story about this piece of art behind you. How did you get this giraffe? This guy's been looking at me funny the whole show.
this guy.
Where'd you get this
Honestly,
guy?
so uh, I think I don't know. I think I just got it online. I was looking for something that would make me. I wanted some art because
Awesome.
I had all these plain walls. I mean, I got a bunch of plain walls over here, and I just thought like I got to put something up here. And I was looking for something inspiring, and I saw it, and it just like I don't know something about the giraffe. It's not even my favorite animal, but
It just makes you smile.
it's fun, it's funny. Like giraffes are kind of majestic, but it's a little bit silly, a little bit like giraffes have strength too because they're big, they're
They're
strong.
huge.
They come out walking as soon as they're born. Like they're pretty amazing animals. But it's kind of like the strength and the fun of life, and it kind of just puts me in a good mood when I look
Come
at
on,
it.
man. I love it. And I love your energy, Joe. I really appreciate it. Now, before we get you out of here, I want to give you the floor to talk about anything that you like, to promote anything that you want to chat about. It's this is the thing I like to do at the end of every episode just to help get something off your chest or promote something to the people. But I appreciate you so much for your time, Joe. It's been an honor to learn, and I appreciate you just being down to learn and explore with us, and to share the floor and to share the journey and your story to the people. I'll let you have it. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you, Joey, for having me on. I mean, it's really cool to chat with new people and to try to get the word out, especially in this in New York, where the industry is still kind of new and it's growing. And just to share the story of how this came to be. I hope it's inspiring to somebody, whether it's in the marijuana business or any other business, to try something out. If you really want to do something, then just do it, and don't let the naysayers or the fear stop you, because the worst that happens is it doesn't work out, like with my rock band. But look, I ended up having a great other opportunity that I never would have had, based on me being arrested at 19. So even the bad stuff in life, if you can try to make it into a positive, it really helps my outlook on life. So I try to look at things in the most positive light possible. And I'm so thankful to be in this industry. I'm so thankful that the people here are a lot like you. They're cool. They're interesting. They're people that want to, make connections and kind of help the greater good, and the people who, it's just I'm very fortunate to be in this industry, because I'm sure it's not like this everywhere you go. So
It's most certainly isn't, man. I definitely don't. I talk to a lot of business owners, and it's not that any one of them particularly is less excited or less passionate, because everybody shows, their emotions in different ways and what gets them excited in different ways. And some people get serious and they just hunker down and they just do things and do it. Some people like you, strength and creativity come through the art of a giraffe in your office, and can be exuded through the way that your passions communicate on a podcast. And for that, I appreciate it, because I'm sure that the culture at your guys' shops has got to be fun. It's got to be exciting, and you really big on the experience for your customers. And I'm sure that expands beyond those boundaries into the culture with your community as well. Joe, thank you again, man. Episode 7, everybody. New York Cannabis Podcast. Joe's Buds Dispensary in New York, Syracuse specifically. Make sure you guys tap in. If you're in the area, I highly suggest pulling up. There's a variety of really great brands and products in the shop. Actually, you know what, Joe? I'm going to need you to answer one more question. What would you say are some of the biggest and most well-known brands in the store? Just based on what you hear, know in the industry's general perceptions. What are some brands that you guys carry that you can just recommend? If you could name 5 to 10 real quick.
yeah, sure. So like I said, like probably Heirloom, Dank, Jaunty, Glenna's. Let me see what else. Ruby Farms is good.
Mm-hmm.
Let me think what else. Yeah,
You guys carry the MSOs too, the heavy hitters, the Roves,
Rove. Rove is a big
Grooms.
seller. Yep.
Yep.
Heavy hitters, Rove. House of Saatchi, that's a New York
Yep,
brand.
yep.
Very good, like kind of
Solid
high.
brands there.
Yep, a
Oh
little bit
yeah.
higher.
Well, yeah, I mean, even right there, guys, there's a solid starting 5, starting 8, starting 10 for you guys to check out. Joe, I really appreciate you throwing down with me here on this episode today. Make sure you guys all tap in, talk shit about me and Armar, but support Joe's Buds in Syracuse if you guys have